transactions. Herod smiled maliciously, and saluting me with ironical respect, departed. The great feast of the Jews was approaching, and the intention was to avail themselves of popular exultation, which always manifests itself at the solemnity of Passover. The city was overflowing with a tumultuous populace, clamoring for the death of the Nazarene. My emissaries informed me that the treasure of the temple had been employed in bribing the people. The danger was pressing. A Roman centurion had been insulted. I wrote the prefect of Syria for 100 foot soldiers and as many cavalry. He declined. I saw myself alone with a handful of veterans in the midst of a rebellious city, too weak to suppress an uprising and having no choice left but to tolerate it. They had seized Jesus, and the seditious rabble, although they had nothing to fear from the Praetorian, believing, as their leaders had told them, that I winked at their sedition, continued vociferating, "Crucify him, crucify him." Three powerful parties had combined together at that time against Jesus. First, the Herodians and the Sadducees. Their seditious conduct seemed to have proceeded from double motives. They hated the Nazarene and were impatient of the Roman yoke. They never forgave me for having entering the holy city with banners that bore the image of the Roman emperor. And although in this instance I had committed a fatal error, yet the sacrilege did not appear less heinous in their eyes. Another grievance also rankled their bosoms. I had proposed to employ a part of the treasure of the temple for public use. My proposal was scorned. The Pharisees were avowed enemies of Jesus. They feared not for the government. They bore with bitterness the severe reprimands which the Nazarene had for 3 years had been continually giving them wherever he went. Timid and too weak to act by themselves, they had embraced the quarrels of the Herodians and Sadducees. Besides these three parties, I had to contend against the reckless and profligate populace, always ready to subjoin a sedition, and to profit by the disorder and confusion that resulted therefrom. Jesus was dragged before the high priest and condemned to death. It was then that the high priest Caiaphas performed a divisory act of submission. He sent his prisoner to me to confirm his condemnation and secure his execution. I answered him that, as Jesus was a Galilean, the affair came under Herod's jurisdiction, and ordered him to be sent thither. The wily tetrarch professed humility, and protesting his deference to the lieutenant of Caesar, he committed the fate of the man to my hands. Soon my palace assumed the aspect of a besieged citadel. Every moment increased the number of malcontents. Jerusalem was inundated with crowds from the mountains of Nazareth. All Judea appeared to be pouring into the city. I had taken a wife from among the Gauls, who pretended to see into futurity. Weeping and throwing herself at my